Wednesday na schedule natin. But for those time na may mga scheduled activity ang faculty, so proceed to your reporting na lang. Tapos yung mga reporters, paki-check din yung attendance and then bigay nyo na lang sa akin. Okay, so I believe I have discussed yung introduction plus yung another topic nung reporting and then this adaptation topic. So naka 3 topics na tayo. So maybe we can have a chapter quiz. Pero yung chapter quiz natin is siguro isa pang topic before tayo mag-chapter quiz. 4 na topic na. So yung quiz natin should be face-to-face. Okay? Para makita ko rin naman. So, schedule na lang siguro na natin yun next week. Tapusin muna natin yung isa pang topic ng reporting. Okay? So, Miss Camille, paki-check yung attendance after ng discussion ko na lang, anak. Medyo maingay dito, so bibilisan ko na lang yung discussion natin. Anyway, very short lang talaga to. So, let me share my presentation. Yes.
Sa fixture natin sa hospital, merong ginagdag ba ni Sir Ernie yung ganun mo lang? Yung nakaragdag
Ay, hindi ata to.
Pero di ba nagsukat-sukat siya?
Pero hindi na idagdag yun. Bakit thank you na kaagad? Nakikita na ba?
Yes, Doc.
Oh, thank you na daw. Tapos na yung presentation. Okay. So, our topic for today is of adaptation. Okay, so when we speak of adaptation, this is actually a central concept in biology and one that attracts enormous controversy. So it is often used in several different senses and to describe both a pattern and a process, and more often than not, it is used rather loosely. So when we speak of adaptation class, ito yung process at saka yung pattern of individual, not only for animals, but also for human din naman, but we are focusing on animals. So it is a pattern and process on the survivability based on the new environment of the individual. So how are they going to survive in concurrent with their environment? How are they going to survive with the presence of predators? How are they going to feed themselves? Kung ano yung present lang sa environment nila. Okay? So, meron ba silang mga different activities to survive or different patterns to survive? So, yung tinatawag natin na adaptation. Okay? So, firstly, adaptation is often used as a term for the characters or traits observed in animals that are results of selection. So, for example, the presence of hemoglobin might be said to be an adaptation to allow a greater oxygen carriage in blood. Okay, so in animal populations kasi mostly meron tayong tinatawag na selection. And yung selection na yan is, of course, ang nasa-select yan ay yung mga best animals. Those animals with best qualities or best features or can survive yung mga differences in their environment. Okay, so in that selection, upon after a few time nagkakaroon na ng adaptation dun sa environment nila. So for example nga dito is yung presence of hemoglobin. So yung dito dun sa picture natin, ayan. So presence of hemoglobin aids kasi dun sa greater oxygen carriage. So that depends on the activity of the animal. Like for example, if they have to jump just to have their food, to catch their food, so dapat malakas yung kanilang blood circulation para maka-jump sila. So they can jump high or they can run faster to collect or to tawag nito, para makatch nila yung kanilang mga prey. Okay? So without this hemoglobin in their body, so syempre mahina yung kanilang immune system, mahina yung kanilang tawag nito, yung movement. Okay? So hindi sila makaka-adapt dun sa paghuli ng pagkain nila. So eventually, they will die. They will be eliminated. So ang magsusurvive lang dito ay yung kaya, yung mga ganong activity. Okay? So in due time, yung mga animals na to, na kailangan sigurong manghuli ng mga prey nila, kailangan nilang lumundag, they have to run faster. So ito yung mga eventually nagkakaroon na ng adaptations of having the presence of hemoglobin, greater amount of hemoglobin in their body. Okay. So second is alternatively and most correctly daw na definition of adaptation is a process. That means by which natural selection adjusts the frequency of genes that code for traits affecting fitness. Okay, so for example, increasing hemoglobin concentrations within a taxon might be seen as an adaptation to potentially low oxygen environment. Okay, so parang kanina din lang. Pero sabi dito, dinidescribe ng adaptation as a process by which the natural selection adjusts the frequency of genes. Ibig sabihin dito, affected na yung genome of the individual. So meron ng changes, natural definition, or ang tawag nito, natural improvement, okay, doon sa genetic identity of the individual. Okay? So like for example, ito nga dun sa greater concentration of hemoglobin. So there are some animals or individuals na walang mga hemoglobin before. Okay? Pero dahil nagbabago yung environment nila and they have to adapt, ayun nagkakaroon ng natural changes and natural nito, improvement doon sa genes nila. Okay, but this is not finished or this is not achieved by a short time. Of course, it's over a long period of time bago nilang ma-achieve itong changes na to, lalo na sa genes. Okay, so nagkakaroon ng genetic improvement, natural genetic improvement. Okay. So, isa pang example dito, class, like for example, for those elephants or for those animals na merong malalaking horn, okay, tapos halimbawa nagkaroon ng changes of the environment wherein hindi na maluwag, no? So, kailangan nilang magtipid ng space. So, eventually, yung adaptation na nangyayari doon, yung mga next generation of those animals ay makikita natin na lumiliit na yung horn nila or some are hornless na. So, these are actual adaptations based kung ano yung environment ng animal. Okay, so these are actually yung tinatawag natin na natural gene improvement. Walang human interventions. Okay. So structural and behavioral adaptation. So for the structural adaptations, these are physical features of organism like bill on the bird or fur on the bear. Other adaptations are behavioral, which pertains to things needed by the organism to survive. For example, yung bird's migration activity. Okay? So when we say structural adaptations, ito yung mga physical features na kailangan ng individual animal for them to survive in the new environment. So like for example, yung beak or yung bill, yung fur, if they live dun sa mga cold places, yung mga extreme temperatures. So yung fur na yan, that will help them to generate yung body temperature nila. Okay? That will help them or protect them from too much or extreme cold temperatures. Okay? So sa behavioral naman, ayun, kakaroon din sila ng changes, adaptations on the behavior. So nagkakaroon sila ng attitude or behavior towards the environment for them to be able to survive. So what are those behavior? Like for example, natututo na silang mag-migrate, okay? Migration activity. Ano pa? Like for example, natututo na rin silang maging predator. Before they are the prey, pero ngayon nagiging predator na rin sila kasi to be able to survive in that particular environment. Okay, so survival. Now, for those animals who cannot adopt, for those animals who cannot really nagkakaroon ng adjustment dun sa new environment nila is eliminated. Kaya nga sa natural selection, sinasabi natin na for a new environment, nagkakaroon ng elimination of the or survival of the fit and elimination of the unfit individual. Okay, so that comes naturally, class. Walang human intervention dyan. So makikita natin na these animals are also adapting or these animals have the ability to adapt and have the ability to survive kahit saan mo sila isabak na environment or situation. Okay? So for the physiological adaptation naman, physiological adaptation, these are the internal functions of an organism that help them thrive in a specific environment. Like for example, no, yung snakes and spiders, they produce venom to paralyze their prey and make them easier to digest. Okay? Many fish and reptiles are cold-blooded to cope with living in a cold water environment. So these are the physical adaptation. Kumbaga, natural na to sa kanilang katawan and they have to use this, they have to enhance the use of this, they have to improve paano nila gagamitin. So dapat meron silang technique, kailan ba gagamitin, alam nila dapat yung gamit ng mga physiologic adaptation na to within their body. Okay, like for example, dun sa mga snakes, so they have the venom. Is pag alam nila na meron mas malaki sa kanila and they are considered as the prey of this individual, then they have to use yung venom nila to protect themselves. Or they have to use yung mga venom na yan for them to catch yung prey nila. Okay? Para meron silang pagkain. Some of the physiologic adaptations may also include yung mga senses sila. Like for example, they can sense yung kung may threat ba dun sa environment, or they can sense kung meron bang predator sila dun sa environment, something like that. Okay, so they can use these different senses para malaman din nila if they are protected or they are safe within the environment. Okay, so like for example, the mga fish and reptiles which are cold-blooded, so these physiologic feature helps them to survive dun sa mga cold water environment. Now, paano kapag napunta naman sila sa warm? So they should have the ability to cope with the warm environment. Okay, so magkakaroon na naman ng changes dyan dun sa katawan siguro nila, doon sa behavior nila, okay, para makakope up doon sa bagong environment. Okay, so with the adaptation, it is now believed that yung process of evolution or yung principle of evolution happen para magkaroon ng adaptations ang mga animals or individual animals. Like for example, dito sa picture natin, no? So, yung horse before daw ay ganito yung itsura niya. Can you see my cursor, class? Nandyan pa ba kayo?
Yes, Doc.
Okay. So, before 60 million years ago, tama ba? 60 million years ago, ganito yung itsura no individual na animal na to. Okay? Tapos, after years ago na naman, after 40, so nagkaroon ng adaptation, lumaki siya, umaba yung katawan, and so on and so forth, hanggang naging, eto na siya yung modern horse. Okay, so for now, we can see yung modern horse. So ngayon, ano na siya, no, domesticated na siya. Although meron pa ring mga wild sa ibang forest, pero most of these modern horses are now domesticated. And ayun, 'di ba? Social sila kasi may mga veterinary care na, may mga feeding program, may mga management program na natatanggap. So, kumbaga yung adaptations nila, actually, dun sa human intervention na yan, yung human, they mimic yung natural environment of the animal para maging mas comfortable yung animal. Tapos yung mga food nila, yung mga feeds nila ay based na rin dun sa needs nila everyday, okay, to meet yung nutritional requirements. But this slide shows only that doon sa environment, as they travel or as they have a new environment, nagkakaroon ng adaptations itong animal na to until such time that ito na sila. And with the human interventions, ayun, mas comfortable na yung living nila kasi mas nami-meet na yung mga requirements nila. And as we domesticate naman our animals, class, we always think of their natural habitat. So we mimic that. For example, yung ano ba yung gusto nila, maraming grass, spacious ba? Although yung iba nating horses are nakakulong, pero may mga time pa rin na pinapakawalan sila. Okay, so ino-observe pa rin yung tawag nito, yung mga needs nila. Okay. So that is for evolution. Okay, so evidences of evolution. or like for example yung mga fossils or yung mga part of the skeletal system of the older presentation of the animal. Okay? So before siguro they are small in size, maliit yung kanilang skull, ganyan, maliit yung kanilang femur. But in due time, ayun, dahil dun sa mga activities nila like traveling, like yung mga activities nila on how they collect or how they catch their prey, ayan, nagkakaroon ng mass or density yung kanilang mga bones. So yung fossils, these are preserved remains of ancient organisms or their tracks, and it is the best evidence of evolution formed when plant or animal matter is changed to stone or the imprint is solidified. Okay, fossils found in deeper layers are older than fossils found close to the surface. So another evidences of evolution or yung mga tinatawag natin na tar pits, ancient organism die and decompose forming fossil fuels. Over time, certain geological conditions have allowed the fossil fuels to seep up to the surface. Lighter petroleum products evaporate away, leaving behind stick or yung tar, and animals become trapped in the tar and died. Okay, so yung mga nag-decompose na katawan nila are stick dito sa mga tar na to, and they can be identified ng mga experts natin. So these are actually evidences of evolution that nung mga nakaraang taon pa, no, long time ago, ito yung mga itsura ng mga animals na. Okay? So siguro wala na tayong nakikitang ganun, pero